Hey you guys, this is Guy Stevens. I've been asked a couple of times by people how to make a dwindling value list. Now this is a normal value list. You have a bunch of people here that you can select from. This is a normal simple value list. It's not so hard. And in this case, we've got a certain job that we want these people to do. So the job is to check the inventory, and I want to assign this job to a couple of people. Like for instance, I want to assign this job to Dave. But if I have a whole bunch of people that I want to assign this job to, I don't accidentally want to put in the same person twice. So what I would like is, if I've put in Dave already, like for instance, you can see in this list right here that I've got 4 people in here, Dave, Jill, Joe, and Sophie. If I select Dave, then the next person that I want to select, that next value list that I'm getting, I do not want to see Dave show up anymore, so that I can't accidentally select them twice. So I could select Jill right now, and now I've got Dave and Jill, and now the only 2 people left are Joe and Sophie, and that's what you call a dwindling value list. The value list gets smaller and smaller the more people you select, and eventually if you select all of your people, you won't be able to select anyone from your value list anymore because there is just simply no one left. Now, how do we make a dwindling value list like this? Let's just start from scratch and make this whole thing again so you guys know exactly how this works. So let's create a new database. Let's give it a spot somewhere. Let's give it a name and let's save it. And then Filemaker shows up with a field picker, which I'm not going to need right now. I've got my inspector ready, and let's go and look in File Manage Database to see what's going on. So Filemaker has created for me a table called Dwindling2, which is the file name that I gave it. I don't want this one, so I'm going to delete and also remove occurrences of these tables in the graph. And let's start making some tables. So I've got some jobs that I want to do, and then I have people to do these jobs. Because if I have one job, I can assign that to multiple people. I'm going to need a join table. Join jobs and people. Okay, I think I've made another video about join tables, so you can look into that to see how that works, but it's actually very simple. Okay, let's add some fields into these tables. So let's double click the jobs one, and let's make this one very simple, an ID, which is a number field. And I'm going to set this to auto enter a serial number. Okay, and then I'm going to have a job field, which is going to be a text field, where I will enter the name of my job. Very simple, people, just the same. ID, simple number field, which is, say, serial number, and then a name. Let's not even make first and last names. Let's just keep it very simple, and then I want to join the jobs to the people. So I've got my ID field, which I always have, which is a serial number, and then I have a job IDFK, where we will store the ID of the job, which is a number, and we have the people IDFK, where we will be storing the ID of the people. Okay, that's all we need. If we go into our relationships, then we can see that we've got jobs, we've got people, and we've got a join table to join them together. Okay, so let's put them somewhat like this, and let's just simply connect them. Very simple. ID of jobs goes to the job ID, because I'm going to start by creating a job, and then I'm going to add people to this job. The people ID gets connected to the people IDFK, very simple, and we do have to make one simple tiny little edit in this relationship. When I have a job, I want to add people to this job. Those people will be stored in this join table, so I would like to have the ability to create records in this one through this relationship. So I got to go in here and check this box, allow the creation of records in this join table via this relationship that starts at the jobs right here. And we can also select this one. If I delete a job, I might want all those assigned people, or at least those assigned records, to be deleted as well. This won't delete the people because they are here, but it will delete these joined records, which can be deleted if I delete the job, because then I don't need them anymore. Okay, so this whole part is basically making a join table. That's not the focus of this exercise. So now let's focus on our dwindling value list. I still have this layout on this Dwindling2 table that I have already deleted, so I'm going to go to jobs, and I'm going to just quickly clean this up by going to File, Manage Layouts, and I'm going to delete this layout because this was one created by Filemaker that I don't need. Okay, I'm in my jobs layout, and I'm going to create a new record, and then this is going to be the first record, and there's a job that I want to do, and I want is, let's say I've got a store or something, and I want for my people to check the inventory. inventory. Okay, now how can I assign people to this? Very simple. I'm going to go to edit layout and I'm going to add a portal. Very simple. Right here, I'm going to say give me a portal from the join table. And I would like to allow the deletion of portal records, because if I assign a person to this job and and I've made a mistake, then I want to be able to delete that one. Okay, I don't need anything else right now, so I'm going to say okay. Which fields would I like to see? I don't need to see the job ID because the job ID is already here and it's going to be filled in automatically because this is a portal, so I don't need that one. I do need this one because I want to be able to assign people, so I'm going to have that one on there, and that's cool. So now I have the ability to assign people here, but I can't really write their name because this is an ID field, so I have to put an ID in there. This requires a value list. Let's go to data. Let's make this one not an edit box, but a drop-down list, and let's create a new value list because I don't have any yet. So let's make one for people. I'm going to use the values from a field, and I'm going to use the people field. I'm going to say I would need their ID because this is an IDFK field. I need to place the ID into that field. And I'm going to also display the values from a second field, which is the name, because I don't know their IDs, I just know their names. So I want to display their names, and I want to show only the values from the second field. So I only want to see their names show up. Okay, that's kind of cool. Let's see what happens when we do this. I see that nothing happens because I haven't created any people yet. Let's go into the people. Let's put this one in table. Let's make a new record, and let's say Dave. Let's make another new record. Let's call this one Joe. Let's make another one. Let's add some girls. Let's say Fanny, and let's say Jane. Okay, great. So I've got some people. I've got one job now. Let's have a look at my drop down now. Great, I've got Dave, Fanny, Jane, Joe. I can select whichever one I want. I want to select Dave, but only his number shows up. That's kind of annoying. I don't really like that. I want to see his name. So let's go in here. This one can be a little bit smaller. Let's control drag this one over here. And then from the people table, I want to see the name. I've accidentally added a label as well. I don't really need that label. I could have unchecked that in here, create labels, because I don't want that one. And now let's have another look at my layout here. Yes, Dave is showing up. Now I can select Fanny, but this one brings me to here because I copied this one to there. This one also has a drop down, but that's not correct. I don't want that to have a drop down. So let's select this one, and let's say I don't want a drop down list, but I want this one to have an edit box. All right, Fanny, Dave, whoops. I've already made a mistake. I've selected Dave twice. I should not be able to do that. Let's delete Dave. Let's make a tiny little text here. Let's call this one delete. And then Filemaker makes that into a tiny little box, which makes no sense, but doesn't matter. I'll just fix it like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this one a blue color, like this, and I'm going to give this an underline so that it kind of looks like a hyperlink or a button. And I'm going to say button setup, and I'm going to scroll down where it says records, and I'm going to say delete portal row. Okay, that's nice. I've got these two Daves, so I'm going to delete this Dave. Do I want to delete this one? Yes. And now my Dave is gone, but my Dave is of course still showing up in my drop-down because everyone is showing up in my drop-down. This is just a simple value list right now. I'm going to have to change this one into a dwindling value list. Basically what I need for that is I need to have a list of all the people that I have already selected and then exclude those people from my list of people. Now how can I get a list of selected people? I actually already have that list here, but I need to get that list of people in my jobs table so that I can use a relationship to exclude the already selected people from my people list. This sounds very complicated, but if you do this one step at a time, you will see that it's actually very simple. Okay, how can we get a list of these people? Very simple. Let's go to File, Manage Database. Let's go to the fields of our jobs table because that's where we are at right now. And let's make a new field. Let's make it a list of selected people. Okay, the type is going to be a calculation because that's a simple way to start. And let's create this one and let's say that the calculation needs to be a list, and then I need these brackets, and the list needs to be a list of the join jobs people IDFK. That's the list that I need. I need to have all those people IDFKs, and I don't want this to result in a number, but I want this to result in a text, because that way I will have every ID on a new line, and that's going to be exactly what I need. Okay, let's click OK. Let's go into layout mode and add this list field to our layout. So let's take this field tool right here, let's drag it down, and let's say show from my jobs table my list of selected people, and I am going to create a label for this one, and let's make this one a little bit bigger, and then let's see what we've got going on here. I've got in my list the number 1 and the number 3, which are exactly the numbers that are showing up right here, and if I add someone else, let's say Jane, that's number 4. If I select that one, then that number also shows up right here. What I have now is my list of already selected people, and now I can use that list to exclude these people from my list of people, which is actually this one. This is my list of people, and I can now exclude people from that list. How do I do that? Very simple. Let's go to File, Manage Database, into our relationships graph. Because what I've got going on right here is in my jobs, and I'm going to give this one a color. I'm going to give this one like a purple color, and I'll give this one like a yellow color or something, and this one I'll make this one red. What I've got going on right now is in my jobs table, I've got a list of people that I've already selected. So now what I want to do is exclude these people from this list. But I've already got relationships going through these guys right here. I cannot add relationships here, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take this one and make a new occurrence of this table. That doesn't mean that I'm going to copy this table or create a new table. I'm simply going to make a new occurrence of this table. That's a very important distinction. How do we do this? We click on these 2 green crosses in the bottom right here, and if I do that, you can see I've got a second box. It's a people box, people and people too, but if I hover over this arrow right here, then I can see that the source table is people, and for this one the source table is also people. If we go to our tables, we will see that we have one people table. We did not copy this table, we did not create a second table, we just have 2 different occurrences of this table in our graph. So any people that I put in the people table will be available in both occurrences. We do not have 2 separate tables. This is extremely important to understand. So now I'm going to say that this one will show me the people that are not selected, and I'm going to drag this one a little bit lower over here, because this one is going to be connected to this field right here. So this field contains the IDs of the people that I have selected. So basically this one will somehow connect to this ID, but right now I've got the list of selected people is equal to these people, which is not correct. I need the exact opposite. I need for this list to show the people that are not selected. So I'm going to double click this one, and instead of using the is equal, I'm going to use the is not equal. If we do that, then basically this table occurrence is going to show me the people that are not equal to the people that have already been selected. Sounds complicated, but it's really not. Okay, let's click OK. Now we have to change this, because of course this value list is still based on my original people table occurrence, so it's showing all the people. Now I need to change this drop down so that it shows let's go back into our file manage database. I'm showing a value list based on this one, but I need to create a value list based on this table occurrence. So let's change our value list. Let's go into edit layout. Let's select this one so we can see our drop down list of people right here, and I'm going to edit this one. I'm going to edit this value list, or I could create a new one if I want. I could do that as well. Let's make a new one, and let's say people not selected. I'm going to use the values from a field, and the field that I need is in this people not selected table occurrence. And again, I need to have the ID, and I also want to see the name. But as you can see, very important here, pick the correct table occurrence. I'm going to show only the values from the second field. All of this is the same as I did before, only from a different table, but a very important detail to make my dwindling value list work is that I need to include only the related values starting from my jobs table, because that relationship between my jobs and my people not selected is what's going to create my value list. So let's do that. Let's hit OK. Very well. Let's have a look if this is actually working, and I've got 1, 3, and 4 in here. This gives me only one guy now, Joe, and if I select him, then I can see that that is in effect number 2 that I had not yet chosen before. And this seems to be working just fine, because right now, well, actually I should have no one, but I still have Joe. What's going on here? The problem that I'm having right now is that this calculation field basically shows me a list of the people that I have selected, but the relationship between this list field and my people not selected, let's go and have a look at that one, File Manage Database. This relationship has not been refreshed by FileMaker, and a relationship is only really refreshed when the value in this field is changed. Now the value in this field was actually changed, but it was changed because this is a calculation field, and apparently that doesn't really update the relationship enough. If I go in here and I make a change manually, like if I would, oops, I can't change anything because it's a calculation field. If I would kind of manually change this field, I don't know if this has worked right now. No, this hasn't worked. I have to somehow update the relationship between this calculation field and the people not selected table occurrence, and I can do that by making a little script and kind of forcing FileMaker to refresh that relationship. I can make a script which I will call, let's see what script step that I need is under Windows, refresh window. There you have an option to flush the cached join results. Basically that forces FileMaker to refresh any relationships that you have. So if I do this, which is a refresh window flush cache join results, so I'm going to call this one refresh flush. I'm going to save this one. If I force this script to run, I can actually basically already run it right now. This refreshes, and if I now go to my drop down, you will see that there is nothing showing up right now because basically I have already selected all of the people. This relationship has now been refreshed, and actually what I have to do is I have to force this refresh to happen every time I select someone, because if I delete someone now, I still don't have my drop down. I still have to first go to my script and do this refresh before my drop down here is showing this new name. Now I can force this refresh automatically by going in here by saying set script triggers. On object modify, I want to refresh and flush my cached join results. If I do that, then every time I select a new person, now I've got Joe, I'm going to select Joe, now I want to select someone else, and now that relationship has automatically been refreshed, and this dwindling value list is now correct. Now this works, and we could do that. I didn't mean to do this. We could do this, and this does work. The only problem is this refreshing and flushing your cached join results. If you have a big and complicated database, this could take quite a bit of time, so you might not really want to do that. Now there is a way to solve this. If we don't let this one be a calculation field, but we manually enter all of these numbers into this field, if we do this manually, then basically because we're putting values in this field, and after putting values in this field we exit this field again, that basically means that this field has been changed and updated, and then FileMaker will update the relationship between this field and my people not selected table occurrence, and then we will always have a correct drop down. So you can use this flushed cached join result the way we have it right now, but if it makes your system slow, then we're going to need to do something else, and let's do that right now so we can see how that would work. So first we go to File Manage Database, and we go to our Jobs table, and we change this calculation into a simple text field. Let's change this, and then this is emptied out because this becomes a simple text field. There is nothing in there right now, and basically this I'm gonna have to first do my refresh right here. Now my value list should show me everything, which is not. Of course, there's a reason for that. Let's enter the numbers here manually. I've got 1, I've got 3, and I've got 4 in here. If I put those numbers in here, then my Joe shows up. If I add Joe here manually then now my dwindling value list shows nothing because this relationship has been updated. Now I need this, the filling in of this stuff, I need this to happen automatically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here. I'm going to make a new script, and this new script will set into this field the value, or basically all the IDs of the selected people. This script step will do the exact same thing as my calculation did. So basically my set field will set the list of selected people, and the calculated result is going to be list. This is exactly the same thing as I did in my calculation field. It's going to make the list of my join jobs people, people IDFK. So list join jobs people, people IDFK. If I do that, and I will add a commit record requests perform that dialog. I will add that one, and that will basically save the value that I've just set in that field, and that will also update the relationship. So if I do this one, set selected people, and I save this one, then I just have to assign this one as a script trigger here, set script triggers, and I don't need this refresh flush anymore, so I can just select a different one, set selected people. There you go. I'm going to exit the layout. I'll just quickly delete some of these guys right here, and then if I this is not working yet because we are not entirely there yet. If I select, for instance, Joe, then my 1, 3, and 2 will show up right here. If I select another one here, Jane, this will be updated as well, and now my dwindling value list kind of stops because I have no one left to select. Now there's one problem going on. If I delete, for instance, if I delete Jane, now Jane is still in here. Jane was number 4, and this hasn't updated. So what I need to do is, when I delete a record from here, I also need to update these numbers in this field. So basically I need to do the exact same thing as I'm doing in this script, but I also need to add that delete step. So I'm going to make a new script, and I'm going to say delete portal row. And that's exactly what I need to do, delete portal row. But then I also need to run that other script and set the correct numbers in this field. So I'm going to say perform script, and I'm going to say set selected people. Okay, so let's save this one. Let's close all of this stuff. Let's go into edit layout, and let's update this delete step. Let's say button setup, and instead of a simple delete portal row, I'm going to perform the script of delete portal row right here. So that way, when I do a delete here, I've got 1, 3, and 2, and 4 is also still in there. So I'm going to delete 2 as well. That should leave me with 1 and 3. Let's delete. And now this field also gets updated. And now my dwindling list is already working a lot better, because if I select Jane, she shows up in here. If I delete Jane, then she gets removed here. So this is already working very well. There is one single problem right now. If I make a new record, let's say a new job, and the job is taking out the trash. Whoops, that's not a typo. And I want to assign some people to this job. If I click in here, nothing shows up. That is because, let's go to our relationships, file, manage database. The relationship here says that I want to see all the people that are not equal to the people that are in the list of selected people. But the list of selected people in a new record is just empty. There is nothing there, and there is nothing that's not equal to nothing. So that's kind of a problem. If I have a number in here, let's say if I manually add a number in here, then this does work, but this creates a problem, because if I want to select this person number 1, this person is not showing up anymore right now. So basically what I need is I need to always have a value in here, but that value that I always have in here needs to be not equal to an existing people's ID. Our existing IDs start at number 1, so I can either choose a very high number But then if I add a lot of people and I arrive at that high number, that could give me a problem. Or I can choose to enter the one number that I never use in my IDs, that is number 1. If I place numbers, that is number 0. If I place the number 0 in this table or in this field, then I will always be able to see all of my other people. But I need to make sure that there is always at least one value in this field right here. Otherwise, this is not going to work. But what happens as soon as I select someone, his number shows up, and that's good. But if I delete this person again, then I again have an empty kind of list right here. So that's not good. I need to make a change. Let's go to File, Manage, Database, and let's first say that when I make a new field, I want to auto-enter the data of 0 in there, so that I always at least have the number 0 in there, so that if I make a new record, this one has the number 0 in there, and that way my drop-down works. But I also need to make sure that in my scripts, my set field step also needs to add that 0 number. So I'm going to go to my calculated result and specify that I don't only want to add the list of people, but I also want to add the number 0. So I'm going to add this one here, and I'm going to say, give me between quotation marks the number 0, and give me a new paragraph right here, and then give me the list of people. Okay, if I do that and I save this, then as soon as I add someone, I will have that number 0 in there, which I don't really need right now, but it's a good thing to have there at all times. And I have my Dave, who is in here right now. That way my drop down works, but as soon as I delete Dave, I still have that number 0 in there, and then my drop down still works. So now I can start adding people, and the more people I add, the less people show up in my drop down list. And as soon as I delete someone, this list gets smaller again as well. So those are a lot of things that we had to do, but we did end up making a correct functioning value list. There are just a few things to keep in mind. That number 0 needs to be in there at all times. And of course, you need to make sure that you update the relationship between this one and that one. You can do that, as you can see, you can do that both ways. Either use that refresh flush cached thing, but if you use that, you still need to make sure that even your calculation field, if you keep this as a calculation, it also needs to contain that 0, which is something you can just easily add to your calculation, as I have added it to my set field step right now. But I think the set field step is maybe a little bit faster, and it allows your system to update only the relationship between this one and the people not selected. And if you have a big and complicated system, that refresh flush cached join results would also refresh all the relationships on your layout, which might make everything really slow. So I think that this is probably the best way to set up a dwindling value list. And now that we have it working, we don't need to see this anymore. We might not even need to see the ID of the job. And this trick is a trick I've done a lot of times before. If we set this one to be a drop-down list in browse mode, but not in find mode, and we set this one to be a edit box not in browse mode, but in find mode, and we put the two of them on top of each other like this, like so, and we make them of the equal length, so resize to largest width. And then I can maybe even make them a bit bigger, make this one like so, and then make this one a little smaller. Then what we have is a simple drop-down value list that shows me only the names that I haven't selected yet, and it's working very well, and I'm not seeing any IDs anywhere, so this is working, and this is kind of cool. I will make this file available to you guys for download if you look down into the description box, and then you can play around with this and see if this works for you. If you want to learn a lot more about Filemaker, you can go to my Udemy courses. I've got a few of them. I've got first a beginner tutorial if you want to try that out. That's a free course where you make a contacts database with a couple of nice little features. You can try that one as a little tryout. I've got a complete Filemaker invoice database where we build a complete invoicing system completely from scratch, and I've got a FileMaker bookings and reservation system which has some really cool and awesome features. You can follow those courses and then you can really learn a lot of different techniques and tricks about FileMaker. So if you're interested in those, you can just follow the links down below in the description. Ciao.